If you're full busted like me, you've probably run into issues trying to fit a big 4 pattern to your shoulders and bust. Well, today I am testing the Nancy Zieman pivot and slide method on Butterick 6814, and let me tell you, the results were surprising. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Izzy, and my channel is all about sewing garments, sewing quilts, sewing bags. All right, so in today's video, like I said, I'm gonna go through what I did on B6814, this pattern, to try and make it fit my body. So I'm gonna go through all of the pattern adjustments I did or I made to the pattern pieces based on my body measurements, but also the finished garment measurements. I'm going to show you the finished top at the end and then tell you about what worked really well, what didn't work so well, and what I might do the next time I make the top. So let's begin with pattern adjustments. All right, so the first thing we need to do is mark on our pattern some key measurements and some key places, basically, so that we know exactly how or by how much we need to either lengthen or shorten or add to the width. So I took my measurements today, just because we're at the tail end of the holidays, and yeah, just to make sure everything would fit. So my bust right now is 47 inches, and the finished garment measurements for a size 18 is 47 inches. So I know I need to add, and I'm going to add 4 inches of ease, which means I need to pivot and slide by 1 inch on both pattern pieces, so the front and the back. Now, I got to a size 18 to start with because that's what Nancy Zieman says I need to start with. So the whole method, the starting point is explained in the book, but basically you have to measure from armpit to armpit, and then based on the measurement you get there, she tells you exactly what size to begin with. So my armpit to armpit measurement is 15 inches, so that's an 18 in big 4 patterns. So size 18, as I said, was 47 inch finished. I need at least 4 inches of ease, so I'm going to add 1 inch to each side seam. So that's the bust width measurement. Then at the waist, the finished measurement for a size 18 is, again, 47 inches. My waist is 41, which is 6 inches, should be more than enough. I'm not going to need to add anything to the waist. And then at the hem or at the hips, my measurement is 49 inches. The finished garment measurement at the hip is 51 and a half. I want to add 6.5 inches just to make the math easy. So basically, I'm going to go up to 55 inches finished, which will give me my 6 inches of ease. Hopefully that all makes sense. So basically, you have to compare the finished garment measurement with your measurement, your body measurement, then decide how much ease you need, and then add width to the pattern based on how much ease you want. So those are the width measurement. Now, when I cut and pressed my pattern piece flat, I laid it on top of my body to find my bust apex. So the pattern's apex is right here. Mine is 1 inch lower, so I need to lower the apex by 1 inch. The waist on the pattern hits me right about where mine is, so I don't need to make changes. but the hem is way long, so I need to shorten the pattern by 3 inches. And again, I've marked all of that on my pattern piece so I don't get confused, and I know exactly, if I make this again, I'll know exactly what I did to it. Now we also need to deal with the bust cup or the dart here. This is a women's pattern, so yeah, the Butterick pattern is, well, the packet I bought is sized women's, so 18W to 24W. And with a little bit of a Google search, I found out that women's patterns in Butterick are designed for a C cup size, or C sewing cup size. I'm an F cup, so the difference between my high bust and my full bust is 6 inches. So I need to add, according again to the Nancy Zieman method, 1/2 inch for each cup that I need to increase. So that means I need to add 1.5 inches to the width of my bust dart here, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. But again, I've marked this on my pattern piece so I know exactly what I need to do. So if you're following along, do all of that. Take your body measurements, look at your finished measurements on the pattern piece, decide how much ease you want, and then mark on your pattern how much you need to add at the bust, at the waist, and at the hip. Measure lengthwise to make sure the apex is in the right place, the waist is in the right place, and the garment's going to end where you want it to end. And then calculate how much you need to add to the dart if you are bigger than the size that the pattern, or smaller than what the pattern was designed for. Now, this one's a C cup. Most Big Four patterns are a B cup. So yeah, keep that in mind. All right, so now the next step is going to be for me to take my tracing paper out and start actually adjusting the pattern. So we're going to do that next. All right, so the first thing we need to do is put a piece of tracing paper behind the original pattern piece. Now, what I did before I even start this is shortened the pattern by just folding it up at the lengthen and shorten line by 3 inches, because I don't need to cut. Like, the whole point of the Nancy Zieman method is you make all of your adjustments without ever cutting into your pattern. So I didn't have to cut because I'm shortening. So I just folded it up to shorten it by 3 inches. All right, so the first thing we need to do is take some kind of pen or tracing wheel or whatever and trace around the pattern piece as it is, like untouched. I'm using a great big thick marker so you can see what I'm doing, but obviously you could just use a pencil or all right, and do that all around from the shoulder all the way to the hem. There you go. Try to be as precise as you can be. I'm not very precise because I'm going fairly quickly here, but yeah, there we go. So I've traced my pattern piece. So that's the original pattern piece right there. Now the first thing I need to do is to move the bust apex down by 1 inch. And all I need to do that is basically move my pattern by 1 inch. Hold on. All right, so my apex is here, so I'm going to move it down to here. And then I'm going to take a different pen and I'm going to trace the dart. Okay, like this. Okay. All right, hold on. Okay, it's more like this. And then I'm gonna mark the legs right here. Okay. And then I'm gonna make sure that I mark my new apex right here. And there we go. So that's the apex done. All right, so after making your length adjustments, we're gonna do the width adjustments. I've slid my pattern back up. And now I'm going to mark with a pencil the intersection of the sewing lines at the shoulder. So 5/8 of an inch, like this. And over here, there we go. So the intersection is right here. I'm gonna put a pin in this intersection right here. Now, if you've got something soft underneath that really your pin can go into, it's a bit easier. And then I'm gonna take my seam gauge and measure from the underarm here, my 1 inch increase. So I'm gonna measure 1 inch here. And now I'm gonna pivot from the shoulder out to my increase right here. Okay? And then once you've done that, you trace the new armhole. And then down the bust a little bit. There we go. So this is my increase at the bust. And then I'm going to return to my starting position because I also need to add to the hip over here. So now I'm going to move. I'm going to do the same thing here and measure my 5/8. So right here or thereabouts, I'm going to put my pin in. Now I said I wanted to add 6 inches, no, 4 inches at the hem. So I'm going to mark the 1 inch right here. And then I'm going to take my pin here and then pivot to the 1 inch mark right here. And then trace my new side seam. Now I'm going to need to play around with the dart and stuff and basically just true up. Now, there we go. All right, so I traced the new hem, I traced the new side seam here. So I'm going to go back to my starting position again. All right, and now to trace the proper side seam. I'm just going to put the pattern here and make sure. There we go. All right, so if I move it back here to my original line, you can see that I've increased at the bust here. I've given myself another inch. I moved the dart down because the original position was here. I moved it down, and then I increased at the side seam right here. But the pattern piece shape still looks very similar, but more importantly, the length of my arm's eye here is exactly the same as the length here. So I didn't change the shape, and I didn't change the length of my arm's eye over here. All right, so that addresses the width changes, and we've addressed the length changes. Now, I'm going to make sure I know where my legs are here, because once my pattern is finished, there we go. Let me find a ruler. I'm just going to draw my dart legs. There we go. All right, so now I've got my new dart, which is lower. And I've added all the width I should need. Now the last thing we need to do is increase the bust, the dart, I mean, and then whatever increase we do here, we have to add to the hem. So I said I need to add 1.5 inches. So that's 3/4 inch on each leg, up above and lower or under. So my leg's now going to start here at the top and here at the bottom. So I'm effectively adding to my bust dart like this and like this. And then I'm going to add 3/4 inch to the hem by sliding my pattern, because that ensures that the shape at the hem is not going to change. There we go. So that's the new hem. Now once I've done all of these changes, I always place my pattern, the original pattern piece, back to its original position, always. And then I'm gonna tape it down. I'm gonna tape it down and then cut my new pattern piece on the red line. All right, hope that makes sense. So I'm just gonna tape it down at the shoulders, and then over here, and here, and here. All right, and then I'm gonna take my paper scissors and cut on the red line I'm probably gonna need to add paper at the hem here, but that's fine. And then I'll have a new pattern piece with which to cut my fabric. I'm gonna have to, you know, true this up. It looks a little bit crappy, but I was going really fast, so yeah. And then you do the exact same thing to the back pattern piece, with the exception of the dart. Obviously, you won't need to do that. There's no dart on the back. But adding width and length at the bust, waist, and hip, you do exactly the same thing. So slide up and down for length, and then pivot right and left to add width. And then once you've done that, you are ready to cut into your fabric. All right, so hopefully that was helpful. Now, before I go any further, the method worked really, really well, but I did make a couple of mistakes. The first mistake I made, and you might have picked up on that as you were watching the previous clip, your bust dart should not go right to your apex. And I knew that, but I still drew the bust legs or the dart legs all the way to the apex. You need to stop, if you have a bigger bust, about 1.5 inches away from the apex. So I will be doing that next time. Also, when I drew or when I made the changes to my back pattern pieces, I added the 3/4 inch that I added to the front because I made my dart bigger. Well, I didn't need to do that on the back piece because the back piece does not have a dart. So as a result, my back fabric piece was now 3/4 of an inch longer than it needed to be. So just keep that in mind. If you're gonna try and use this method, don't do what I did. All right. All right, so these are, like I said, super easy fixes though. I've already adjusted my pattern for the 3/4 inch at the back, and I will adjust the pattern to redraw the bust dart so that the end of the dart is only 1.5 inches away from the apex and not right on top of it. All right, so here is the result. I'm actually wearing the top that I made. Now, it's not finished, so it's not hemmed, and I did not finish the sleeves. And the reason why, and please don't go in the comments telling me the top is beautiful, you should finish it anyways. I'm never gonna wear this, and here's why. I found this 1.5 meter of beautiful rayon, but it's got lurex pieces in it, and it is itchy. Yeah, it's itchy. I'm never gonna wear this top, and even if I were to remove the lurex pieces from the facings, the whole blouse is itching me, and I'm not gonna sit there and remove lurex pieces from an entire blouse. So I love that this ended up being a muslin. I was never gonna use that fabric anyways, so yeah, it's not gonna get finished. But I'm gonna show you what it looks like. Oh, I'm getting stuck in my chair. Oh, there we go. All right, and I will put some pictures in there so you get a better idea of me in the blouse with my head and the rest of my body. But I love it. I absolutely love it, and I am so impressed with the results I got. So the shoulders are a touch wide, so I'm gonna do maybe 1/4 inch narrow shoulder adjustment. Maybe. Like, I don't think they're off the shoulder enough that it bugs me. Well, it doesn't bug me in this fabric. It might bug me in a solid fabric, so I might fix this. Absolutely love the ruffle at the neck. Love this. It's one of my goals for my body shape, basically raising the eyes away from my midsection, and this does the trick. Next time I make this though, I'm gonna line the flounce, because when I move, or depending on how, see, you can see the underside of the fabric, and that is a no-go for me. I really don't love that. Also, the facings. Anyways, I'll talk about that in a bit. Let's talk about fit for now. So love this. The sleeves, I had to settle for short sleeves because of fabric limitations, but I don't hate the look of the short sleeves. I mean, I'm a pretty minimalist when it comes to my clothing. I don't like all the frills and things. So I love this detail, and that's pretty much the only detail I would want in a top. So the elastic at the sleeves and the frills at the end of the sleeves, I would never ever do that. So the short sleeves I'm good with. If I ever make this with long sleeves, they would just be straight long sleeves, maybe with an elastic at the very at the hem to make them balloon out a bit, but yeah. Then fits me really well at the waist. I've got more than enough ease. It's very comfortable. Same with the hips. More than enough room here. So I love, love, love how this fits. But the best part is how it fits the bust. There is absolutely no pulling across. There's no pulling at the arm's eye, which you often get if your bust cup is not large enough. And look how even the hem is. So no riding up, no, yeah, it's just perfect. The side seams is exactly straight up and down. Like I said, I mean, the end of the dart is right here on my apex. I need to fix that. But from a fit perspective, this is the best fitting, or one of the best fitting tops I've ever made myself. This is almost perfect. Very comfortable moving, so it's wide enough in the back. Yeah, this is, I'm stunned. To be honest with you, I am absolutely stunned because I didn't think it would work this well. All right, so that's for the fit. Now let's talk about the pattern for a little bit. So like I said, this is Butterick 6814. I've got the women's sizing package. So my package goes from a 18W to a 24W. I made the 18, which means, according to my research, that the W means you get a C cup, and there's a little bit more curviness to the pattern, whatever that means. So yeah, so I cut an 18 and then made all the adjustments based on that. I was gonna make view B, so in my original plans, oh, hopefully that'll focus, there we go. I was gonna do this one here, ended up making this one without the flounce. And if I make this again, I'll probably make this again, or make this one, but with just the long sleeves, no elastic, and maybe put the elastic at the hem instead. The instructions were consistent with what I've seen from Big Four, meaning they are sparse, they are correct. I mean, they do show you all the good steps in the right order, but there's absolutely zero hand-holding in Big Four pattern instructions. They don't tell you when to press or in which direction to press. They don't tell you when to finish your seams or how to finish your seams. You kind of have to know what you need to do at each step, because all they say is, so this to that, so this to that, now do this to that, and that's it. So, yeah, as far as the style or the pattern itself, I really don't love the facings. I mean, I've trimmed, I've clipped, I've underpressed, or understitched, I should say. Bear's over here making a ruckus again. And it's still sticking out, and it just won't lie flat, and it's driving me bananas. So when I make this again, I really want to find a better way of finishing the neckline. So if you have any ideas, please put them in the comments below. I mean, you have to keep in mind, there's the flounce, and then there's the facing inside, and it's a V-neck. So yeah, if you have any ideas, any thoughts. I've not sewn with facings very much, so I have very little experience, but this one is just a no-go for me. I don't know if I made it longer, if it would be like heavier and would tend to stay down. Anywho, if you have any thoughts, please let me know. I'm fine with lining the flounce. I know I just cut 2, sew them together, press them flat, blah, blah, blah. I know that's fine. I'll know how to do that next time, but I need some tips and tricks or ideas with how to deal with the bad facing. Other than that, I absolutely love the top. Yeah, there's a tiny bit of gathering at the sleeve head, very little. And yeah, it looks kind of cute. I like that it puffs up a tiny bit. Yeah, it's just a really cute basic blouse with a twist. And the twist is this here. So it helps achieve my body shape goals. Like I said, it brings the eyes up. It doesn't, there's nothing bringing attention to my middle. The length is perfect. It hits me exactly at the spot I would want my tops to hit me. And it's really comfortable. So I will definitely make this again. In fact, I have a few cuts of rayon in solid colors that I think would be perfect for this kind of top. Although, you know, like how many tops do you need with a flounce at the neckline? But anyways, maybe I could do a short sleeve one and a long sleeve one and wear them in different seasons. Anywho, so those are my thoughts on Butterick 6814. All right, well, that's it for my review and my test of the Nancy Zieman FBA method. It works, people. It 100% works. And like I said in the clip where I'm making the adjustments, for me, the best part about using her method is I don't need to slash and spread my pattern piece. I am not a tracer. I just don't want to. And this way, yes, I end up attaching extra paper to my pattern, but if it didn't work out, all I need to do is pick up the tape and throw away that piece of paper, and I'm still left with an intact pattern piece, as opposed to the traditional slash and spread where you cut right up to the bust apex and make the dart wider. It's just, yeah, once you've cut into that pattern, like, yeah, you could always undo it, but not the easiest thing in the world. All right, well, if you enjoyed this video, I'm gonna suggest, and if you wanna stick around, I'm gonna suggest you watch this video here, which is all my trials and tribulations fitting a proper pair of trousers on my body. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.